If the bread hadn't burnt, this would be a very different story. Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm here to talk to you about the familiar and unspoilery review of this book. I gave this book 4 stars and I really enjoyed it, and I encourage people to read it. Before moving on and talking about more details about the familiar, let me just start by talking about... Hi Moka. ازيك؟ عامل ايه؟ Hi. Hi. High five. Good boy. Good boy. تعال اقعد معايا. So before talking more about the familiar, let me tell you first about my history with Leigh Bardugo. I am not a fan of Leigh Bardugo, I'm being very honest. I only read Six of Crows duology. So I read the first book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and at the end of the second one, I did not enjoy the story at all. And I still did not read Ninth House nor Hellbent. Although after reading this book, I'm very excited to pick them up. I was very pleasantly surprised when I ended up really enjoying the familiar. I did get 2 things wrong about this book, because when I was reading the summary, I thought that this was going to talk about Andalusia and Moorish Spain, which is not the case. And there was something about a magical cat, and I did not encounter any cats in this book. However, I did enjoy the story a lot. So I was going into this book very skeptical with very low expectations, and I just decided, let me give this one a chance, because it is rooted in history and I am a history buff and I do enjoy historical fantasy. So I decided to give it a go, and also because it was a standalone, so I was excited to read it because it didn't feel like a huge investment. And I'm so glad I did, because I actually ended up really enjoying this book. The book follows the story of Lucia, I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced again, Lucia, who is a Jew, and she is working as a maid. This is the circumstances. She's working with a family, Valentina's family, which is not really a wealthy family. However, they do have their standing in the upper society. And Lucia does have some kind of magic. She calls them little miracles. And she's able to do these tiny things. For example, a loaf of bread is burnt, it's no longer burnt. A dress is torn at the seams, it's no longer torn. And she's able to use this magic without any actual... I think she has this strong affinity to magic without actual formal training. One day, Valentina is going to discover that she has these magical abilities, and she's gonna try to use Lucia to try to gain a higher standing in the society. The story unfolds from there. I don't want to go into spoilery parts, but we need to know that there's going to be a magical competition with a backdrop of Spain during the Spanish Inquisition. Hi guys, it's me again. So there's an important part that I forgot to film, and I had to run some errands, so I had to leave. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Spanish Inquisition. So that was established in, I think, 1478, and that was mostly after Moorish Spain, Andalusia, and all of that. So this was actually set afterwards, and this was in an attempt to create a unified, consolidated Catholic Spain. And it was led by, I think, King Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile. I'm trying to recall from like when I used to teach this in history, so my memory is a little bit fuzzy. I did do some quick research, but I'm trying to depend on my memory, not the research. And anyway, the whole point of the Spanish Inquisition was they wanted to unify Spain into an only Catholic state, and this was led under the monarchy instead of the papacy. That's what I know for sure. And I also know that it was an attempt, or it was targeting Jews and Muslims in particular, and they wanted to end anyone who was not practicing Catholicism, or anyone who's practicing a non-Christian religion, more or less. And I think later on it was even any sect of Christianity was even fought by the Spanish Inquisition. It was a brutal time, and I know that it included lots of torture and executions. It created this atmosphere of fear in Spain during that time, and that is why our protagonist Lucia, who's a Jew, was hiding her religion and was even not practicing Christianity in public, and was hiding her true religion and her true beliefs. So let's start with the things that I really liked and I really enjoyed in this story. What worked well? The first thing that I really enjoyed about this story is the writing. And if you look here, I have a lot of tabs. Not all of them are related to just the story or the beautiful writing. Some of them are related to the plot line and the character development and important turning points. But I really did enjoy the writing of Leigh Bardugo in this one, because it was very lush. However, it was not overly done that it becomes too cringy. It was not cringy. I really enjoyed it, and there were some powerful moments in that book. I really liked the vibes and the atmosphere, historical atmosphere of this book. I really liked using the Spanish Inquisition as a backdrop for this story. I think it worked really, really well with those characters and their motives and how the story unfolded. Another thing that I really liked, and it was actually something that I don't see done well in books, is how the story wrapped up. It was a standalone, and we did not have any loose ends. Like, I think that every main character within the story had their own closure, and it was well done, and it was nicely wrapped up. I ended this book, or I closed the last page, and I was like, I'm satisfied. I'm really happy with how this was executed. And I also love how it talks a lot about human ambition and the need to appreciate what you already have, and this greed for power. There were so many different themes related to human nature that were explored in the story, and all of these are things that were well executed and well done and made me really enjoy the story. And of course, I really like the cover. It has those black sprayed edges and these beautiful end papers. There's nothing underneath the dust jacket, but this is another thing that worked well. I think it fits the story very well, the atmosphere and the vibes of the story. What stopped me from giving this book 5 stars, or the things that it would have been better if they were done, I wouldn't say necessarily differently, but I think it just needed to have more. We needed to have more of the backstories. We needed to have more of the character development. We needed to have more of an explanation of the magic system and how it works. Because right now we met so many different people who have magical abilities. Some of them are frauds. Some of them are actually do have magic affinity, but we don't understand the source or where it comes from. I wanted to know more about, because I know that languages and like, not storytelling, but its languages has an impact on the magic, or at least Lucia's magic. So I really wanted to dig deeper into that and know how does that impact her and her magic and the use of her magic. I wanted to know more about Santingale being labeled, and this is spoilery, so skip 5-10 seconds. Santingale being known as the familiar, and what is this familiar and why did this happen? So all of these things, I just wanted to know a little bit more about them, and I think they needed to be just more deeply explored. I also think that there was a pacing issue because the book started, I did not think it was a slow read. When it was starting, it started really well and I was very invested. Then somewhere along the half point, it started to drag a bit, and then at the very end it became super fast, and so many things were happening that we did not have a chance, for things to breathe, for character development to take place. So this is my only gripe when it comes to this book. I think I just wanted more. However, I'm not pro it being extended into, I don't know. I'm torn. I don't think it could have worked if we had a second book, or if it was a duology, because I think maybe we would have dragged this one. I just think that the pacing could have been a little bit better to keep the people invested and to give room for things to breathe. I also believe that the romance could have been more flashed out. I think it was, I don't want to say sudden, because there was some kind, or a little bit of a slow burn, but I think there could have been room for the story to develop much more. Additionally, there was this one chapter. It's about a character death, and the way that it was executed and the way that it was written was so phenomenal, because you could visualize it. You could feel the heartbeat of each one of the characters and how things were unfolding. It was like a movie playing in your head, and it was magnificent. I really love this chapter. I tried to find it. I checked all my tabs. I could not recall which chapter it was. If I ever find it, I'll let you know which chapter was my favorite when it comes to the writing style. Allow me to share with you one of the quotes that really showcases how beautifully written this book is. It says, "Then Lucia had entered his life, a character in a play who was meant to have a few lines and depart. Instead, she had overtaken his story. The plot he knew so well had suddenly confused him, the shape of his narrative bending around her into something new. But a tragedy could not become a comedy. In the end, she had been trapped by his curse." I just love it so much. And that's it. That is a review of The Familiar. I really encourage you to read it. If you don't mind historical fantasy, you don't mind magic systems that are not fully blown out, and you want to just follow the story that is nicely wrapped up, it is an enjoyable read, and I highly recommend. Thank you for joining me, and I wish you a great day ahead. Bye!